What if freedom wasn't something you earned at 65, but something you could begin designing right now? What if retirement wasn't the finish line, but simply one version of a bigger idea? The freedom to live life on your terms. This is the heart of the FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early. But if the name sounds like it's only about money or about quitting your job tomorrow, don't worry. It's much deeper than that. At its core, FIRE is about intention. It's about waking up from a life of reaction and choosing a life of design. It's about realizing that every dollar you spend or save is shaping your future. It's about reclaiming ownership of your time, your choices, and your energy. This audiobook isn't here to tell you that there's only one way to live. Instead, it invites you to pause and ask, what do I want my life to look like? Because once you ask that question, money becomes a tool, not a master. You stop chasing more and start building better. You don't need to be rich to begin. You just need curiosity, commitment, and a willingness to look beyond convention. Whether your goal is early retirement, flexible work, or simply more peace in your everyday life, the FIRE path has something for you. So take a deep breath and let's begin reimagining freedom together. Not someday now. Chapter 1. What is FIRE? Origins, philosophy, and misconceptions. There's a quiet revolution happening in personal finance. It doesn't shout from trading screens or dominate Wall Street headlines. Instead, it lives in spreadsheets, budget apps, and the dreams of ordinary people with extraordinary vision. It's called FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And it's not just a movement. It's a mindset shift, a philosophy, and for many a path to freedom. But before you decide if FIRE is for you, you need to understand what it really is, where it came from, and what it is not. At its core, FIRE is about one thing: freedom. Not just freedom from work, but freedom of choice. The ability to wake up and decide what your day looks like, not because a boss told you, or because you need the paycheck, but because you've built a financial life that supports your goals. That's the dream behind FIRE. But achieving that dream takes more than just wishing. It takes clarity, discipline, and a redefinition of success. To understand how we got here, let's take a brief look back. The FIRE movement traces its origins to the 1990s, rooted in the ideas of Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez, authors of the personal finance classic, Your Money or Your Life. Their work challenged the traditional idea that we must trade time for money endlessly. They asked a bold question: what if you could align your spending with your values and escape the rat race altogether? That spark ignited a fire. Over time, especially in the early 2000s and 2010s, online communities began to form around this idea. Places like Mr. Money Mustache's blog, Reddit's Our Financial Independence Forum, and podcasts like Choose FI. These weren't just places to talk about money. They were platforms for a new financial philosophy, one that said you didn't have to work until 65, and that financial independence was possible much earlier if you were intentional. But FIRE isn't just a formula. It's not simply save 70% of your income and retire at 35. That's a common misconception, and one of the reasons why FIRE often gets misunderstood. In reality, FIRE is a flexible framework. It asks you to live deliberately, spend consciously, save aggressively, and invest intelligently. And how you apply those principles is up to you. There are actually multiple versions of FIRE tailored to different lifestyles and ambitions. For example, Lean FIRE focuses on extreme frugality and retiring on a minimalist lifestyle, sometimes with annual spending under $25,000. It's the leanest, most aggressive version of financial independence, and it's not for everyone. Then there's Fat FIRE, where the goal is financial independence, with a higher standard of living, perhaps $100,000 or more, in yearly expenses. This version often requires higher income or a longer runway, but appeals to those who want both freedom and comfort. Somewhere in the middle is Barista FIRE, where you achieve partial financial independence and work part-time or in passion projects to bridge the gap. It's a hybrid approach, and for many, it's a practical and fulfilling middle ground. The beauty of FIRE is that it adapts to your life, not the other way around. It's not about deprivation. It's about alignment. Are your expenses aligned with your values? Is your work serving your life, or is your life serving your work? These are the questions FIRE invites you to ask and answer with honesty. But let's be clear, FIRE is not a shortcut. It is not about skipping work or gaming the system. It's not about retiring to a beach and never working again. In fact, many people who retire early under FIRE continue to work, but on their terms. They might freelance, build a business, teach travel, or pursue creative endeavors. The difference is they're no longer working for survival. They're working for fulfillment. The biggest misconception about FIRE is that it's only for the rich. That unless you're making six figures in tech or finance, it's out of reach. But here's the truth. FIRE is not about how much you earn. It's about what you keep. You can earn $150,000 a year and spend every dollar, or earn $50,000 and save half of it. FIRE rewards margin the gap between income and expenses, and what you do with that margin. That brings us to a key principle: the savings rate. In the FIRE world, your savings rate, the percentage of your income you save and invest, is the single biggest driver of how fast you reach financial independence. The higher your savings rate, the faster you can break free. Why? Because not only are you saving more, you're also reducing your lifestyle expenses, meaning you need less money to sustain your life once you stop working. It's a double win. Let's say you save 10% of your income. At that rate, it might take you 40 years to reach financial independence. But if you can raise your savings rate to 50%, that timeline shrinks dramatically, possibly to 15 years or less. And if you can do even more, say 60 or 70%, you could retire in under a decade. It's not magic, it's math. But it's not just about numbers. FIRE requires a shift in mindset from consumer to creator, from short-term gratification to long-term vision. It means questioning assumptions. Do I need a new car? Or can I drive what I have? Do I need to upgrade my phone every year? Or can I invest that money instead? It's not about being cheap. It's about being intentional. And that intention extends beyond money. FIRE often leads people to rethink their entire relationship with time. When you're no longer tied to a paycheck, you begin to ask, what do I really want to do with my life? What gives me meaning? That's the ultimate goal. Not just financial independence, but life independence. The freedom to live with purpose. Of course, FIRE isn't without challenges. It can be lonely. It can require sacrifices that your peers don't understand. You might skip vacations, dine out less, or delay lifestyle upgrades while others spend freely. But FIRE isn't about comparing. It's about choosing your future over fleeting pleasures. And when you've built a life of freedom, those choices won't feel like sacrifices. They'll feel like victories. FIRE also isn't all or nothing. You don't have to go all in to benefit from the mindset. Maybe you don't retire at 40. Maybe you just pay off your debt, build a 6-month emergency fund, or start investing consistently. That alone can transform your financial life. The point is to start, to think differently, to take control. So if you've ever felt trapped by your job, overwhelmed by debt, or just unsure of your financial future, know this: you have more power than you think. FIRE is not reserved for financial geniuses or millionaires. It's for anyone who's ready to take the wheel. And it all begins with a simple decision to live with intention. As we move into the next chapters, we'll break down how to apply the FIRE mindset in real life, from slashing expenses to supercharging savings, investing wisely, and crafting a plan that fits your goals. You'll learn how to start where you are with what you have and build a path to financial independence step by step. Because the truth is, you don't need to win the lottery to buy your freedom. You just need a plan and the courage to follow it. Let's keep going. FIRE also invites us to reflect on the stories we've been told, the cultural scripts passed down for generations. The idea that success looks like a 40-year career, a gold watch at retirement, and a final chapter spent quietly resting. But in truth, the world has changed. The economy is more volatile, job security is less certain, and retirement at 65 is no longer guaranteed, especially when pensions are disappearing and Social Security may not cover all your needs. In this shifting landscape, FIRE becomes more than an alternative. It becomes a necessity for those who want to take ownership of their future. This is especially true for younger generations. Millennials and Gen Z are seeing firsthand that following the traditional path doesn't always lead to security. Many entered the workforce burdened with student debt, faced wage stagnation, and watched their elders struggle even after decades of loyal service. For them, FIRE isn't about early luxury, it's about regaining control. It's about not waiting until life is almost over to begin living on their own terms. And that brings us to an important truth. FIRE isn't just about money. It's about values. It forces you to ask, what matters most to me, and how can I align my life to reflect those values? For some, that means pursuing creative passions. For others, it means traveling the world, spending more time with family, or simply having the space to breathe. Whatever the vision, FIRE is the framework that makes it possible, not someday, but soon. So as we wrap up this first chapter, understand this: FIRE is not a finish line. It's a philosophy that can transform the way you live today, not just someday in the future. It's about clarity, simplicity, and power. The power to say no to a life of automatic spending, unnecessary debt, and silent stress, and instead say yes to a life of purpose, freedom, and intentionality. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore exactly how you can begin this journey, not in theory, but in practical, actionable steps. Whether you want to reach full financial independence or simply want more breathing room, this path is open to you. It begins not with a bank account, but with a decision to live differently, to act boldly, and to believe that your time is worth more than a paycheck. Let's move forward together. Chapter 2. The Math of Independent Spending. Less saving, more reaching faster. There's a powerful myth many of us grow up believing, that the path to financial freedom is paved solely by earning more money. We chase higher-paying jobs, promotions, and side hustles, hoping that if we can just earn enough, we'll finally feel secure, finally be free. But the truth is, financial independence is not just about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep. And even more importantly, it's about how long that kept money can work for you. At the heart of the FIRE movement lies a simple but revolutionary formula: spend less, save more, and invest wisely. This isn't about luck or genius. It's about math, and more specifically about the relationship between your savings rate and your time to freedom. Let's begin by exploring a fundamental concept: your savings rate. Your savings rate is the percentage of your income that you save rather than spend. It's one of the most important indicators of how quickly you can reach financial independence. If you save 10% of your income, you might need to work for 40 years or more to retire comfortably. But what if you save 50%? Suddenly your required working years might shrink to less than 20. Save 70% and you could potentially retire in under 10 years. This happens because the higher your savings rate, the lower your expenses, and therefore the smaller the amount of money you need to sustain your lifestyle. It's a double win. You're both building wealth and reducing the cost of your future. That's the essence of the FIRE math. It's not about deprivation. It's about efficiency. So how do you increase your savings rate in real life? There are two ways: spend less or earn more, or ideally do both. Let's start with spending less. For many people, this is the most immediate and accessible way to shift toward financial independence. And it doesn't require drastic, joyless austerity. In fact, many FIRE followers describe the process of reducing expenses as liberating, not limiting. It's about being intentional with your money spending, in alignment with your values, rather than reflexively following habits, marketing, or social pressure. That might mean making coffee at home instead of buying it daily, cooking instead of eating out, sharing subscriptions, buying used instead of new, or moving to a less expensive neighborhood. These choices, small in isolation, become massively impactful over time, especially when the money saved is rerouted toward investments. Then comes earning more. While cutting spending has its limits, you can only reduce so much. Income has theoretically unlimited potential. Many FIRE adherents boost their earnings through career development, freelancing, side hustles, or building scalable businesses. The key here is not to inflate your lifestyle as your income grows, what many call lifestyle creep. Instead, you keep your expenses relatively stable while increasing the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is where financial freedom lives. But increasing your savings rate is only half the equation. The other half, the engine that makes the whole system work, is investment. Saving is important, but saving alone will rarely get you to FIRE. You need to put your money to work, and that's where compound interest becomes your greatest ally. Compound interest is often called the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. It rewards consistency, discipline, and time. The earlier you start investing even small amounts, the more time your money has to grow on its own. A $1,000 investment at an average annual return of 7% grows to over $7,600 in 30 years. Increase your monthly contribution and stay consistent, and the results multiply dramatically. Most FIRE enthusiasts invest in low-cost index funds, which track the performance of entire markets like the S&P 500. These funds offer diversification, minimal fees, and reliable long-term growth. Others invest in real estate, dividend-paying stocks, or even businesses. The common thread is long-term strategy, not short-term speculation. Now let's talk about a key concept in FIRE called the 4% rule. This is a guideline based on historical market performance that suggests if you withdraw 4% of your invested assets annually in retirement, your money should last for 30 years or more. Using this rule, you can reverse engineer your financial independence number. For example, if your annual expenses are $30,000, you'd need a portfolio of $750,000 to retire. If you spend $40,000 a year, the target rises to $1 million. This target becomes a powerful motivator because it's no longer vague. You're not saving just because. You're saving with a clear goal, a number that represents your ability to live life on your terms without depending on a job. And that brings us to another powerful realization. The lower your expenses, the less you need to reach financial freedom. Many people on the FIRE path realize that the biggest leverage point isn't increasing income, it's reducing required lifestyle costs. That doesn't mean living a life of scarcity. In fact, many people discover that the things that truly bring them joy, connection, creativity, purpose, don't cost much at all. It's here that the math becomes emotional. It stops being just about numbers on a spreadsheet and starts being about freedom, time, and choice. When you realize that you could spend a few years living below your means in exchange for a lifetime of autonomy, the trade-off starts to feel more than worth it. But it's important to acknowledge that FIRE isn't one size fits all. Not everyone can or wants to save 70% of their income. That's okay. FIRE is a spectrum, not a binary. You don't have to retire at 35 to benefit from these principles. Even saving 25% or 30% consistently can transform your financial future and give you options earlier than you thought possible. And remember, the journey matters just as much as the destination. FIRE isn't about escaping life, it's about designing one that you don't need to escape from. It's about reducing dependency on unstable jobs, avoiding debt traps, and building a cushion between you and life's uncertainties. So how can you take your first step today? Start by calculating your savings rate. How much of your income are you keeping? Look at your spending habits and ask what's essential and what's habitual. Can you find small, repeatable areas to cut that won't feel like sacrifice? Can you increase your income even modestly and direct that surplus into investments? Most importantly, get clear on why you want freedom. The math will get you there, but the purpose will keep you going. But let's not forget that math, while essential, is just the starting point. The real magic happens when numbers meet habits. Because saving more and spending less is not just about crunching equations, it's about creating a lifestyle that supports your long-term goals day after day. This is where financial independence becomes more than just a plan. It becomes a practice. That practice begins with clarity. You need to know exactly where your money goes every month. Too many people underestimate the power of simply tracking their expenses. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room. You suddenly see what was hiding in plain sight. Small leaks like subscription services you've forgotten about, frequent online shopping, or costly habits can add up to hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. That money redirected toward your investments could dramatically accelerate your timeline to independence. Once you've established awareness, the next step is automation. Automating your savings and investments is one of the most powerful tools available. When a portion of your income is automatically diverted into investment accounts or savings goals, before you ever see it, you remove willpower from the equation. You build momentum without having to constantly make conscious decisions. Over time, this creates a snowball effect where your habits are working for you even when your motivation wavers. Then there's lifestyle design. People pursuing FIRE often make unconventional choices, not because they're forced to, but because they realize those choices buy them something even more valuable than money: freedom. Downsizing a home, driving a used car, or skipping luxury vacations might seem like sacrifices to some, but for those focused on FIRE, they're strategic moves that shorten the distance to autonomy. And let's not forget the psychological benefits of financial independence even before you reach your target number. As your savings grow and your expenses drop, something shifts inside. You begin to feel less fear, less pressure. You're no longer just working to survive. You're working because you choose to. You're creating options for yourself, and that feeling is incredibly powerful. But don't expect perfection. The journey to FIRE is rarely a straight line. There will be setbacks, surprises, and moments where your discipline falters. That's okay. The point is not to be perfect, it's to be persistent. Each step you take toward financial clarity and independence builds resilience. Over time, your confidence grows, your choices become sharper, and your goals more achievable. Ultimately, the math of FIRE teaches us that we are not helpless. We are not stuck in the patterns we inherited, or the financial script we were handed. We can break free not through luck or extreme wealth, but through deliberate action, thoughtful strategy, and a willingness to redefine what enough looks like. That's the heart of FIRE. The realization that with focus, intention, and a willingness to live differently, you can collapse decades of dependence into a few focused years of effort. You can take control of your future, starting today. Chapter 3. Earning with Intention. Maximizing income without burning out. In the pursuit of financial independence and early retirement, there's a critical element often misunderstood: income. Many people think FIRE is only about cutting expenses, about living frugally to the extreme. And while reducing spending certainly plays a key role, it's only half the equation. The other half, the one often overlooked, is increasing income strategically, sustainably, and with purpose. Earning with intention isn't about hustling endlessly or sacrificing your health for a paycheck. It's about aligning your work with your long-term vision, finding ways to increase your value, and maximizing your earning potential without draining your energy or joy. Let's begin by looking at the concept of value. In a market economy, income is closely tied to the value you provide. That value can come in many forms: skills, leadership, problem-solving, creativity, communication. But it must be directed towards something people or businesses are willing to pay for. If you want to earn more, you have to provide more value or position yourself where value is already being well compensated. Now, this doesn't mean jumping from job to job chasing higher salaries. It means being intentional. Start by understanding the market you're in. What are the highest demand skills in your industry? Where is your company or field headed in the next 5 to 10 years? What problems are businesses desperate to solve right now? If you can position yourself as the solution, your earning potential expands. Upskilling is one of the most powerful investments you can make. Whether it's mastering data analytics, becoming fluent in project management, or sharpening your ability to sell and persuade, skills compound just like money. The more skilled you are, the more opportunities you can unlock, whether inside your current job or beyond it. But here's where intention matters. Don't pursue more income just because you can. Pursue it because it brings you closer to your FIRE goal, because it accelerates your freedom. Many high earners find themselves on a treadmill, always striving, never satisfied. FIRE asks a different question: how much is enough? If you know your number, then your income has a purpose. It becomes fuel, not a finish line. One of the most effective ways to maximize income intentionally is through career leverage. This can take different forms. It might mean negotiating a raise based on your measurable contributions. It might mean switching to a higher-paying role that better uses your strengths. Or it could involve consulting or freelancing on the side, turning your knowledge into a service others pay for. Side income, when done right, can be a powerful ally. But here's the caution. Don't let your side hustle become another full-time job that steals your time and energy. The goal isn't to work more hours, it's to work smarter ones. Start small. Test your ideas. Focus on scalable, repeatable models, where your effort compounds over time rather than trades time for money endlessly. Remote work, too, has opened a whole new landscape of intentional earning. No longer confined to geographic salaries, many professionals can now earn in one economy and live in another. Geo-arbitrage, earning in a high-cost market but living in a low-cost one, can supercharge your savings rate if done thoughtfully. And what about burnout? Let's not pretend it isn't real. The drive to earn more can be intoxicating, especially when you're watching your savings grow and your FIRE date inch closer. But if you sacrifice your health, your relationships, or your sanity along the way, what are you really gaining? That's why intentional earning means knowing when to pause, when to say no, and when to redirect your energy. It's about aligning your work with your values, not just your bank account. Ask yourself regularly, is this pushing me toward freedom or pulling me away from it? Designing an intentional income strategy also involves setting boundaries. For example, defining how many hours per week you're willing to work, what types of projects align with your purpose, and how you'll know when it's time to scale back. Your income strategy should be just that, a strategy. Not a reaction, not a race, but a series of thoughtful moves guided by your FIRE vision. Let's also consider entrepreneurship. Many people in the FIRE community explore business ownership not because they want to build an empire, but because a business can offer autonomy, flexibility, and uncapped income. Whether it's selling digital products, offering coaching, or building a micro-brand, entrepreneurship can be an intentional path to FIRE if approached with clarity and constraint. However, don't romanticize entrepreneurship. It comes with risk, complexity, and emotional ups and downs. The key, once again, is intention. Start lean. Test your ideas. Build systems. Use your primary income to support your business, not replace it too early. When done well, a business can be a powerful vehicle toward independence. When done poorly, it can be a distraction, a drain, or worse, a detour from your dreams. One of the core tenets of earning with intention is sustainability. You can sprint for a short while, but FIRE is a marathon. Choose income paths that energize you, that grow with you, that don't demand a version of yourself you can't maintain. The most successful people in the FIRE movement are those who built income around their strengths, their values, and their lifestyle, not the other way around. And finally, remember that income is a tool, not an identity. You are not your job title. You are not your hourly rate. You are the architect of your financial freedom. And the income you earn, whether it's from a job, a business, or a side project, is simply the bricks you'll use to build it. So as you look at your earning path today, ask yourself, am I earning reactively or intentionally? Am I chasing more, or am I building better? Am I working to impress others or to liberate myself? Because when you earn with intention, every paycheck becomes a step toward possibility, not just survival. Every dollar has a job, every effort has a direction, and every choice becomes a vote for the life you actually want to live. But let's go even deeper into what it means to earn intentionally. Because when you start down the path of FIRE, there's often a psychological shift that catches you off guard. As your savings grow, you might feel the tug-of-war between ambition and contentment, between maximizing income and reclaiming your time. It's not always clear when to keep pushing and when to step back, and that's why clarity of purpose is essential. Many people equate financial independence with never having to work again. But for most, FIRE isn't about quitting work. It's about gaining the freedom to work on your terms. This means choosing work that aligns with your values, serves a purpose greater than a paycheck, and enhances rather than depletes your life. Earning with intention isn't a sprint to an exit. It's a strategy to make every phase of the journey fulfilling. Some people find themselves in high-paying roles that slowly chip away at their well-being. Others are in lower-paying but deeply meaningful positions. The beauty of intentional earning is that it allows for a hybrid approach. You might accept a slightly lower salary in exchange for flexibility, remote work, or alignment with a cause you care about because you've calculated that time and mental space are just as valuable as dollars. It also means building buffers, emergency funds, cash reserves, low overhead so you never have to take a job or keep a client out of desperation. That's financial self-respect, the power to say no, because you've given yourself room to breathe. It's not just about how much you earn, but how empowered you feel when you earn it. There's another layer to this mindset, and it's legacy. As you grow in your intentional income journey, you begin to consider the ripple effects of your work. Are you building something that can be passed on? Teaching your children different financial values? Creating systems others can benefit from? Income, when earned with intention, becomes more than just a means to an end. It becomes a contribution. And let's not forget generosity. One of the most powerful motivators for earning more isn't just personal freedom, it's the ability to give freely. Whether it's supporting a family member, funding a local project, or donating to causes that matter, intentional income allows you to shift from scarcity to significance. Ultimately, earning with intention is about designing a relationship with money and work that honors both your ambitions and your boundaries. You're not just trading time for money. You're trading energy for options, creativity for control, and effort for impact. So don't just ask, how much can I make? Ask, what kind of life am I building through the way I earn? Because when your income serves your vision and not the other way around, you're not just getting closer to FIRE. You're already living it, one empowered choice at a time. Chapter 4. Investing for FIRE. Building a portfolio that buys you time. There comes a pivotal moment in the FIRE journey where the focus shifts from saving aggressively to building a machine that works while you rest. This is the true magic of investing. It's the bridge between effort and freedom, between paycheck and passive growth. And for anyone on the path to financial independence and early retirement, understanding how to build and maintain a portfolio that can one day replace your earned income is non-negotiable. Let's begin with a powerful insight. Investing isn't about making a quick buck. It's about buying time. Every dollar you invest isn't just money. It's a tiny employee you've hired to work for you 24/7. These employees don't call in sick, take vacations, or ask for raises. When managed wisely, they grow stronger, reproduce, and begin to generate their own wealth. And the earlier you deploy them, the longer they have to compound. But let's ground this in reality. Investing for FIRE isn't gambling on stocks or trying to beat the market. It's not chasing hot tips or timing every up and down. The goal is consistency, simplicity, and strategy. The FIRE investor understands that the greatest wealth is built quietly over time through discipline and deliberate choices. So what does this look like in practice? It often starts with index funds. These are low-cost, diversified funds that track entire markets like the S&P 500. For FIRE followers, index funds are popular because they don't require constant management. They minimize fees, and they historically deliver strong long-term returns. They don't promise overnight riches, but they do provide a reliable engine for compounding growth. Others may incorporate dividend-paying stocks into their portfolio, shares of companies that distribute a portion of their profits back to shareholders regularly. These dividends can eventually become a source of passive income funding your lifestyle without selling your investments. It's like planting fruit trees that drop produce every season while continuing to grow taller and stronger. Real estate is another tool often found in the FIRE toolkit. Whether it's rental properties, house hacking, or REITs, real estate investment trusts property can offer both cash flow and appreciation. But real estate is not truly passive. It comes with responsibilities from repairs to tenants, to market fluctuations. For some, it's a worthwhile vehicle. For others, it's a distraction. Know your temperament before diving in. The key principle here is intentional allocation. Your portfolio should reflect your risk tolerance, your timeline, and your desired lifestyle. If you're younger and have a longer runway, you may lean into stocks more aggressively. If you're nearing your FIRE goal, you might begin shifting toward more stable income-generating assets like bonds or real estate. And this brings us to one of the most overlooked aspects of FIRE investing withdrawal strategy. It's not just about building a mountain of money. It's about descending that mountain safely. You've probably heard of the 4% rule, a guideline suggesting that if you withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually, your money should last 30+ years. For example, if you've saved $1 million, you might safely withdraw $40,000 per year. But it's just a rule of thumb, not gospel. Market volatility, inflation, and unexpected expenses all demand a more nuanced approach. Some FIRE adherents prefer a bucket strategy where short-term spending needs are covered by cash or bonds, while long-term funds remain invested in growth assets. Others use flexible withdrawal methods, cutting back in lean market years and spending more during bull markets. The bottom line is this: your investment strategy shouldn't end when you reach FIRE. It must evolve to support and sustain the life you've worked so hard to design. Of course, no conversation about investing would be complete without addressing risk. Markets rise and fall. There will be corrections, recessions, and moments when fear tempts you to sell. This is where mindset comes into play. The FIRE investor doesn't panic. They remember that wealth is built over decades, not days. They zoom out, stay the course, and trust the process. And here's something else that isn't talked about enough: diversification across time. FIRE isn't a single finish line, it's a continuum. You don't wake up one day, sell all your assets, and hope they last forever. Many people in the FIRE community continue earning money after reaching their target through passion projects, part-time work, or creative ventures. Why? Because the purpose of FIRE isn't to stop working, it's to stop needing to work. So your portfolio doesn't need to carry the entire burden forever. It's okay to combine investing with other income streams, to plan for flexibility, and to embrace new seasons of growth and contribution. Let's also talk about taxes. FIRE investors must plan tax-efficient strategies using tax-advantaged accounts like Roth IRAs, 401ks, and HSAs to their fullest. Understanding capital gains, taxes, tax loss harvesting, and the order of withdrawals can make a substantial difference over time. It's not just about what you earn, it's about what you keep. And lastly, automation is your best friend. Automate your investments. Set up recurring transfers. Rebalance your portfolio annually. Remove emotion from your financial decisions. This is how you stay consistent even when motivation fluctuates. Discipline beats intensity. The truth is, investing for FIRE isn't about being a genius. It's about being consistent. It's not about predicting the market. It's about participating in it. It's not about overnight wealth. It's about daily decisions that compound into lifelong freedom. So whether you're just starting with a few dollars a week or you're optimizing a six-figure portfolio, remember this: every invested dollar is a brick in the foundation of your future. The sooner you begin, the stronger that foundation becomes. Because in the world of FIRE, time is not just money, it's life. And a well-built portfolio is the tool that buys you more of it. What truly sets the FIRE approach apart isn't just how it prioritizes investing, it's how it personalizes it. FIRE isn't a rigid formula, it's a mindset. Instead of chasing the highest returns, FIRE followers ask, what do I actually need? What kind of life am I building? This shift turns investing from a mechanical act into a deeply intentional one. With that clarity, people build portfolios that serve their unique goals, not just generic benchmarks. For some, that might mean pursuing index funds with relentless consistency. For others, it might include dividend-paying stocks that generate regular income or real estate investments that provide both appreciation and cash flow. The key is alignment investing in a way that matches your values, risk tolerance, and timeline to independence. A major part of this is understanding where your money lives, not just how it's invested. Tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks, Roth, IRAs, and HSAs can significantly boost your returns by minimizing what you owe to the government. But it's also about when you can access those funds. Many FIRE followers create bridge accounts, taxable brokerage accounts they can draw from before retirement age, giving them flexibility and early access without penalties. Then there's the risk of bad timing, something many early retirees prepare for with a cash cushion, a reserve of 1 to 3 years of living expenses held in a high-yield savings or money market account. This way, if the market dips, they're not forced to sell investments at a loss. It's a simple practical buffer that can protect years of progress. Others use the barbell strategy, balancing aggressive growth on one end and stability on the other. A large portion of their portfolio might be in equities for long-term compounding, while a smaller, safer allocation like bonds or cash is there to cover short-term needs. This way they stay invested through market ups and downs without panicking or pulling out prematurely. But building wealth for FIRE is about more than tactics. It's about consistency. The most effective FIRE investors aren't those who make the perfect trades. They're the ones who automate their investments, stay the course during bear markets, and refuse to let temporary noise shake a long-term plan. And finally, investing for FIRE often extends beyond markets. Many find that investing in themselves through education skills or starting their own ventures yields some of the highest returns. A course that helps you raise your income or a side business that adds another stream of cash can fast-track your journey more than any stock pick ever could. In the end, your portfolio becomes a mirror of your values. It's not about retiring to escape life. It's about investing so you can live more of it on your terms, with your time as your own. That's the real return. And it's one you can start building toward today. Chapter 5. Designing a FIRE Life Purpose. Flexibility and values-driven choices. Reaching financial independence isn't just about escaping your job or hitting a number on a spreadsheet. It's about unlocking something deeper, freedom with intention. That's what this chapter is all about. Once you've laid the groundwork with your savings rate income strategy and investments, the next step is arguably the most important of all: deciding what kind of life you actually want to live when you no longer have to work for money. Because here's the truth. Without a clear vision, freedom can feel strangely empty. If you've been sprinting toward early retirement for years, then suddenly wake up one morning with nothing on your calendar and no need to clock in, it can be disorienting. That's why designing a life around your values, your energy, your curiosity, and your priorities is not optional. It's essential. Let's begin with the first and most foundational question of all. What does freedom mean to you? For some, it's travel. For others, it's staying home with kids, volunteering, building passion projects, or starting a second career in a field they truly love. There's no universal answer. The FIRE movement is not a single template, it's a tool set. You get to decide how to use it. Start by mapping your values. Ask yourself what really matters, not what society told you should matter, not what your neighbor brags about, but what you care about deeply. It could be creativity, community nature, impact, health, or legacy. Once you've identified those values, you can begin to align your time and money with them. Because true wealth isn't just financial, it's the ability to live in integrity with your values every single day. And that leads us to flexibility. One of the biggest benefits of the FIRE mindset is that it doesn't demand perfection. You don't need to retire in the traditional sense. In fact, many people on the FIRE path choose to keep working just on their own terms. They might freelance part-time, launch a small business, or work seasonally. Others take mini-retirements, stepping away for a few months or years, then re-engaging later when it feels right. That flexibility is powerful. It means you're not stuck in an all-or-nothing mentality. You're not forced to live ultra-frugally forever or never work again. Instead, you get to evolve with your life. Maybe your priorities shift when you start a family. Maybe you want to go back to school or care for aging parents or move closer to the mountains. FIRE gives you the room to make those changes without panicking about money. This is why designing your life ahead of time is such a crucial step. Start with a blank page and ask, if I didn't need a paycheck, what would I spend my time doing? How would I structure my day? Who would I spend it with? What would energize me? These questions may seem abstract, but they're the blueprint for your post-FIRE reality. Without them, many people end up filling their newfound time with distractions. Netflix, social media, constant travel, only to find they feel aimless or unfulfilled. And here's something powerful. The design process doesn't have to wait until you reach full FIRE. You can start experimenting now. If you dream of writing a book in retirement, start with a blog today. If you imagine traveling slowly through Europe, try a short trip or remote work arrangement next year. These mini-tests allow you to refine your vision and make sure your fantasy life is grounded in reality. Sometimes what we think we want doesn't feel as good as we imagined. That's okay, it's all part of the design. A big part of purposeful living also comes down to how we define success. In the traditional work world, success is often measured by promotions, titles, income, and prestige. In the FIRE life, success becomes internal. It's measured in how aligned you are with your purpose. It's found in the depth of your relationships, the freedom of your schedule, and the joy in your daily routines. And don't underestimate the mental shift this requires. Many people achieve financial independence, but still feel tethered to old beliefs that they need to constantly be productive, that they must always be achieving something, that rest is lazy. Letting go of those stories takes time, but on the other side is a more peaceful way of living, one where enough is truly enough. Another critical element of designing your FIRE life is building community. When you walk a path that diverges from the norm, retiring early, leaving a high-income job, living frugally when others are spending, you can feel isolated. That's why connecting with others who share your mindset can be incredibly empowering. Whether it's online forums, local meetups, or just a few close friends who get it, community gives you perspective, encouragement, and the reminder that you're not alone. Some FIRE adherents also explore what's called slow FI, a more gradual version of financial independence that allows you to incorporate more freedom and intentional living along the way, rather than waiting for a magic number. This might mean negotiating a 4-day workweek, taking a sabbatical, or working remotely from a different country. These lifestyle tweaks can offer a rich quality of life, even before you've fully retired. The goal is to avoid the trap of deferred happiness. FIRE is not about grinding for a decade in misery so you can live someday. It's about aligning your money with your life today and tomorrow. It's about using money as a tool, not a destination. So ask yourself this: what do I want my days to feel like? What kind of life would make me excited to wake up each morning? How can I start building that life piece by piece, even before I hit my financial goals? Because that's what FIRE is really about. Not retiring from life, but stepping fully into it. In the next chapter, we'll turn our attention to some of the real-world challenges that can arise on the FIRE path: resistance from others, fear of running out of money, and how to stay resilient through uncertainty. But for now, take a breath and recognize this truth. Financial independence is not the finish line. It's the doorway to a life of freedom, clarity, and conscious choice. The rest is up to you. But designing a FIRE life isn't a one-time decision, it's a practice. Just like you revisit your budget or rebalance your investments, You also need to revisit your definition of fulfillment. Because life changes. Your values evolve. What brings meaning at 30 may not resonate at 50. A FIRE lifestyle honors this truth by giving you the space and flexibility to update your direction without burning everything down to start over. This is where intentional flexibility becomes a superpower. Rather than chasing rigid milestones or arbitrary timelines, you begin to measure success by alignment, how closely your daily life reflects what matters most to you. It's not about sticking to someone else's version of early retirement. It's about crafting a version of freedom that fits your values like a tailored suit. That might mean taking mini retirements along the way, instead of deferring all joy until age 45. It might mean choosing a lower-income lifestyle that gives you more autonomy, or moving somewhere less expensive to accelerate your timeline. It might even mean barista FIRE, where you work a low-stress job just to cover health insurance while your investments grow in the background. None of these are failures. They're custom-built lives, and that's the entire point. FIRE also invites you to reimagine what work looks like. When money is no longer your master, you can choose to work on projects that matter not because you have to, but because you want to. You can mentor, teach, build, or create with joy. Many in the FIRE community find that after reaching their financial goal, they don't stop working. They just stop doing work they resent. That's a profound shift, one that transforms your relationship with time, labor, and self-worth. And if you're doing this with a partner or family, designing a FIRE life becomes an exercise in shared vision. It's not enough for one person to want freedom while the other fears instability. It requires open, honest conversations about what you both want your days to look like, what you're willing to trade, and what you're not. Alignment here isn't just helpful, it's essential. Because FIRE isn't just a math problem, it's a lifestyle strategy. And it works best when everyone in the household is pulling in the same direction. Now let's be clear, this isn't always easy. You will be swimming against the current of mainstream culture. You may face criticism, confusion, or concern from people who think financial independence is either impossible or irresponsible. But remember, your life isn't theirs to live. They don't get a vote on how you spend your time, only you do. As long as your decisions are informed, ethical, and in service of your values, you're on the right path. The real beauty of FIRE is that it gives you permission. Permission to dream, to question, to design a life where you're not just surviving but truly living. A life that reflects what you care about, not just what you can afford. That's what financial independence really buys you, not early retirement in the traditional sense, but early agency. The ability to steer your life with clarity, creativity, and purpose. So as you continue walking your FIRE journey, come back often to that core question. What do I really want my life to feel like? If money weren't in the way, how would I spend my time, my energy, my focus? Then take small, steady steps to build that reality one day. One decision, one intentional choice at a time. Chapter 6. Life After FIRE. What comes next? When work becomes optional. What happens when the finish line is behind you? When you've saved and invested and sacrificed and finally reached financial independence? What happens when, for the first time in your adult life, you wake up and realize work is now optional? This is where the story begins for many in the FIRE movement. Not with a grand celebration or a trip around the world, though some choose that path, but with something quieter, more profound: space. Mental space. Emotional space. The space to breathe without pressure. The space to ask not, what do I have to do today, but what do I want to do? It's a moment that feels thrilling and often unexpectedly unsettling. For decades, many of us are trained to link our self-worth to our productivity. We're taught to measure our value by output, by salary, by titles. When that structure disappears, even by choice, it can feel like a loss of identity. Who are you without your job description? What are you building, if not a career? These are the deeper questions that life after FIRE demands we wrestle with. And this is why life after fire isn't just about freedom, it's about intention. Because once you remove the financial constraints, you also remove the excuses. You're no longer too busy or too broke to pursue your passions. You've removed the barriers. And now the challenge becomes, what will you do with that freedom? Some people travel the world. Others dive deep into creative pursuits, writing, painting, building something they always dreamed of. Many give back volunteering, mentoring, or starting purpose-driven projects that align with their values. Others take up part-time work in fields they love not because they need the income, but because it fulfills them in ways their previous job never could. And some do nothing, at least for a while. They rest. They decompress. They allow themselves the luxury of boredom, of not having to be productive every moment. And that's perfectly valid. After years of high performance and financial discipline, rest can be revolutionary. It can be the healing phase before clarity returns. But it's also common to hit what some call the post-fire blues. That strange sense of disorientation when the goal you've been chasing for years is suddenly complete. You're not needed at a job anymore. There's no boss, no deadlines. At first it's euphoric. But over time the novelty fades, and if you haven't crafted a vision for this next chapter, it's easy to feel adrift. This is why it's so important to design your post-fire life with the same level of care and curiosity that you used to reach financial independence. Just as you crafted a savings rate or an investment plan, now it's time to craft a life plan. One rooted in your core values, your joys, your gifts, and your desire to make a meaningful impact. Because here's the truth. Fire doesn't guarantee happiness. It guarantees freedom. And freedom is a tool. Like money, it amplifies who you already are. If you're creative, you'll have space to create. If you're generous, you'll have time and means to give. If you're curious, you'll be able to explore. But if you've neglected your inner world while chasing the outer goals, fire won't fix that. It will only expose it. So don't wait until you reach the finish line to explore what lights you up. Begin now. As you move closer to fire, start experimenting with the post-fire lifestyle. Take mini retirements. Explore slow travel. Try a low-cost passion project. Build relationships with others on the fire path and learn from their experiences. The more you rehearse freedom, the more ready you'll be when it arrives. And when it does, build rhythm into your days. Create routines that nourish you. Fire doesn't mean rejecting structure, it means choosing it deliberately. You might build your mornings around exercise and reflection, spend afternoons mentoring or building a business, and evenings with family or creative hobbies. The point isn't how you structure your time, it's that you own it. Another key lesson from those who've gone before you is this: stay financially engaged. Just because you've retired doesn't mean you stop managing your money. You'll still need to monitor your withdrawal strategy, rebalance your portfolio, and navigate taxes. The good news: with the pressure off, many find they enjoy these tasks more. They're not about survival anymore. They're about stewardship. Health is another pillar. When you're no longer chained to a desk or stressed by deadlines, you have an opportunity to invest in your physical and mental wellness. Prioritize movement, sleep, and connection. Fire gives you the time to cook healthier meals, walk in the daylight, or meditate without rushing. Use it well. And let's not forget relationships. Fire can be isolating if you're not intentional. Most of society is still living paycheck to paycheck, bound to their 9 to 5. You may find it hard to relate to old friends or colleagues. That's why it's important to stay connected with people who inspire you, challenge you, and share your values. Build community. Whether online or in real life, there are thousands of others on this path. Seek them out. Learn together. Support each other. Now, one more important point. Fire doesn't have to mean never earning money again. Many people continue to generate income after reaching financial independence. They consult, teach, invest, write, build. But they do so on their terms with flexibility, joy, and purpose. The key distinction is that they choose to work not because they need a paycheck, but because they want the contribution. In this way, fire doesn't end your working life, it redefines it. It replaces obligation with opportunity. And that's a profound upgrade. So what comes next when work becomes optional? You build, you explore, you heal, you contribute, you rest, you grow, you choose. You begin again not driven by money but guided by meaning. That is the true gift of fire. Not early retirement but a reclaimed life. And the best part, you get to write the next chapter. You're the author now. The pen is in your hands. So write boldly, live deliberately, and never forget you worked for this freedom. You earned it. Now use it to build a life that truly feels like yours. And as you step further into your post-fire life, there's one more shift that quietly but powerfully transforms how you engage with the world, your relationship with time. You begin to notice things others overlook. The pace of life slows just enough for sunsets to feel longer, conversations to feel deeper, and decisions to be made without urgency. Time, once fragmented into work weeks and weekends, now flows differently. It becomes your ally, not your master. That change can feel both liberating and disorienting. After all, we're taught to fill our calendars to prove we're valuable. But now you don't have to fill your time, you get to choose what fills it. That choice is the real wealth fire gives you. And while some will use it to stay active, launching businesses, consulting, building passion projects, others will use it for introspection, healing old wounds, or reconnecting with neglected parts of themselves. There's no one right path. There's only your path. Another thing that often evolves in life after fire is your definition of success. You may have once measured success in net worth, job titles, or how early you hit your fire number. But now you start valuing different things. How present you are with loved ones, how often you feel at peace, how aligned your daily choices are with your deepest values. This redefinition of success can be surprisingly emotional and surprisingly rewarding. There's also a natural pull toward legacy. You start thinking longer term, not just for your own financial health, but for your family, your community, or even the broader world. Some use their time to help others reach financial independence. Others start teaching, volunteering, or mentoring. Because once you've achieved the freedom to choose, many choose to give back. Not out of guilt, but from a place of gratitude and purpose. That's where fire evolves from a personal achievement into a platform for contribution. You realize that this path isn't just about escaping something, it's about becoming someone. Someone who lives with intention, who leads by example, and who helps others see that, yes, it's possible to live differently. And still, this life is not without its challenges. There may be moments of doubt, moments where you miss the camaraderie of the office or the rush of a deadline. There may be times you feel disconnected from peers who are still in the thick of traditional careers. These moments are natural. They're part of adjusting to a life that most of the world still considers unconventional. But they are also opportunities to go inward, to recalibrate, to reaffirm your values. That's why community matters. Stay connected with others who understand the fire mindset. Surround yourself with people who are not just chasing numbers but chasing meaning. Talk openly about the joys and the struggles of this path. And remember, just because you've reached fire doesn't mean the journey is over. It simply means you've reached a new trailhead, and this one has no map but your own vision. So as you look ahead, remember that life after fire is not a final destination. It's an invitation to design, to explore, to contribute, and to grow. And perhaps most importantly, to savor the beauty of a life no longer ruled by the clock or the paycheck. You are free now. And that freedom is not just a reward, it's a responsibility. Use it well, use it fully, and above all, use it intentionally. Financial independence isn't just about numbers in a spreadsheet. It's not about obsessing over early retirement dates or trying to outsave the next person. Fire is at its core a declaration of agency, a belief that your time matters, that your choices deserve to be your own, that freedom begins not in your wallet, but in your mind. Long before the investments grow, long before the spreadsheets balance, something subtle but powerful happens: a shift. You stop living on autopilot. You stop measuring success by someone else's standard. You begin to ask different questions about purpose, about priorities, about what actually brings you peace. And in that moment, you start to reclaim your life. True freedom isn't about escaping work. It's about doing work that aligns with who you are. It's not about retiring from effort. It's about retiring from pressure burnout and doing things just because everyone else does. FIRE gives you the clarity to pause, reflect, and choose again. It hands the steering wheel back to you. And here's the part that so many people overlook: you don't need to wait for a perfect plan to begin. You don't need to be debt-free or a high-income earner or a financial genius. What you need is a decision to live more deliberately, to become conscious of your spending, to pay attention to your time, to lead your money, not be led by it. Every step counts. Every dollar saved is a small act of self-respect. Every habit built is a foundation for freedom. You may not get there overnight, but with each intentional step, you're getting closer to a life that feels like yours again. So take the next step, however small it may be. Your future self will thank you. Because freedom isn't a destination. It's a mindset. And it starts right here, right now with you.